They were soldiers of Hitler's army captured, defeated, and shipped across the ocean to a land they'd only heard about in propaganda. But nothing could prepare these German POWs for what they saw when they arrived in America. Towering cities untouched by war, endless fields of golden wheat, and factories that never slept. For men who had known only scarcity and ruin, the shock was overwhelming. This is the untold story of how America as industrial might change the minds and the lives of its former enemies. In the spring of 1943, as the Second World War raged across continents, a new chapter was quietly unfolding far from the front lines. Thousands of German prisoners of war soldiers who had fought for Hitler's Third Reich were being shipped across the Atlantic, bound not for prison camps in Europe, but for the heart of the United States. For many, it was a journey into the unknown. They had been told stories of America, a land of cowboys, gangsters, and endless cities. But nothing could prepare them for what they were about to see. For the German POWs, the first glimpse of America was often through the portholes of crowded troopships. As the ships pulled into New York Harbor, the skyline rose like a wall of steel and glass. Some prisoners, exhausted and defeated, could only stare in silence. Others whispered in disbelief. The scale was overwhelming. In Germany, cities had been bombed to rubble, factories lay in ruins, and food was scarce. Here, the docks teemed with activity. Trains rumbled by, loaded with goods. Trucks and cars filled the streets. The air was thick with the sounds of industry. I had heard of America's wealth, but I thought it was propaganda. When I saw New York, I realized it was all true. The city was alive, untouched by war. I felt very small. The journey inland was just as astonishing. POWs were loaded onto trains and sent to camps scattered across the country: Texas, Georgia, Nebraska, the Dakotas. As the trains sped through the countryside, the prisoners pressed their faces to the glass. They saw endless fields of wheat and corn, small towns with neon signs, and factories belching smoke. Everywhere, there was movement, energy, and abundance. For men who had grown up in a Germany battered by years of war, the contrast was almost surreal. In their letters and diaries, POWs described their shock at the sheer size of America. The roads seemed to stretch forever. The farms were vast, the cities modern and clean. Even the smallest towns had more cars and shops than most German cities. We passed through a town in Ohio. It was bigger than my home city in Germany. There were shops full of goods, people laughing, children playing. It was as if the war did not exist here, but it was the factories that truly stunned the German prisoners. Many had worked in industry back home, or had seen the devastation wrought by Allied bombing. In America, the factories were enormous miles of assembly lines, thousands of workers, machines running day and night. The scale of production was beyond anything they had imagined. We saw a factory in Detroit making trucks for the army. It was like a city inside a building. I counted hundreds of vehicles, all new, all ready for war. In Germany, we could barely keep our factories running. The shock was not just about size, but about abundance. Food was plentiful. Even in the POW camps, the rations were better than what most Germans received at home. The prisoners were given bread, meat, vegetables, and even coffee. Some wrote home, asking their families to send news, not food. I eat better here as a prisoner than I did as a soldier in the Wehrmacht. The Americans have so much, they do not know what hunger is. Many POWs were put to work, helping with the harvest or in local industries. They saw firsthand the organization and efficiency of American agriculture and manufacturing. The fields were worked by tractors, not horses. The barns were full, the silos overflowing. In the factories, women and older men worked alongside young men, all contributing to the war effort. In Germany, we had to salvage everything. Here, nothing is wasted, but nothing is scarce. The Americans build and build, as if there is no end. For the German POWs, the experience was both humbling and eye-opening. They had been told that America was decadent, weak, and divided. Instead, they found a nation united by purpose, rich in resources, and seemingly unstoppable. The shock of America's industrial might would stay with them long after the war ended. The story of German POWs in America is one of contrast between expectation and reality, between scarcity and abundance, between defeat and discovery. For many, the journey began in the chaos of the North African campaign. Captured by British and American forces, they were marched to ports and loaded onto ships. The Atlantic crossing was tense, with the ever-present threat of U-boats. But for most, the real surprise came when they set foot on American soil. The camps themselves were a revelation. Unlike the grim prison camps of Europe, American POW camps were clean, orderly, and well supplied. The Geneva Convention was strictly observed. Prisoners were given adequate food, medical care, and even opportunities for recreation and education. Some camps had libraries, sports fields, and music rooms. The Red Cross delivered packages, and local communities sometimes organized events for the prisoners. At first, many POWs were suspicious. They had been told to expect harsh treatment, even torture. Instead, they found themselves treated with a degree of respect and humanity that was, for some, deeply unsettling. The guards were often polite, even friendly. The local Americans, curious about their enemy, sometimes came to the camp fences to talk or wave. For young men raised on Nazi propaganda, it was a confusing and disorienting experience. One former POW recalled, "I expected to be hated. Instead, I was treated as a human being. It made me question everything I had been told about America. Work was a central part of life for many POWs. Under the Geneva Convention, prisoners could be required to work, provided it was not directly related to the war effort. In practice, this meant that thousands of German POWs helped with the American harvest, worked in lumber mills, or assisted in factories producing civilian goods. The work was hard, but the pay small, as it was could be used to buy extra food, cigarettes, or even small luxuries from the camp canteen. For many, the work assignments were a window into American life. They saw the efficiency of American farms, the abundance of machinery, and the cooperation between workers. They noticed that women played a major role in the workforce, something rare in Germany at the time. They saw black and white Americans working side by side, and while segregation was still a reality, the diversity of American society was striking. One POW wrote, "In Germany, we were told that America was a land of chaos and crime. But I saw order, discipline, and a sense of community. The people worked hard, but they also enjoyed life. There was music, laughter, and hope. The abundance of food was a constant source of amazement. Even during wartime rationing, American meals were generous by European standards. POWs were given bread, meat, potatoes, vegetables, and sometimes even dessert. Coffee was served at every meal. For men who had grown used to hunger, it was almost unbelievable. I gained weight in the camp," one former soldier admitted. I wrote to my family and told them not to worry about me. I was eating better than ever before. The American gods, too, were a source of fascination. Many were older men or young recruits, often with little experience of war. They were sometimes strict, but rarely cruel. Some tried to learn German, and a few even befriended the prisoners. There were, of course, incidents of tension and conflict, but for the most part, the relationship was one of mutual respect. The POWs were also struck by the openness of American society. Newspapers and radios were available in the camps, and prisoners could follow the progress of the war. They saw that Americans criticized their own government, debated politics, and discussed the future. This freedom of expression was a revelation for men raised in a dictatorship. One POW wrote, "In Germany, we had only one voice, the voice of the Führer. Here, there are many voices. People argue, disagree, and still remain united. It is a strength I did not understand before. As the months passed, many POWs began to adapt to their new lives. Some learned English, took classes, or joined camp orchestras and theater groups. A few even fell in love with American pen pals, exchanging letters and photographs. The war seemed far away, and for some, the camp became a place of reflection and growth. But not all prisoners adjusted easily. For some, the shock of defeat and captivity was overwhelming. They struggled with guilt, shame, and homesickness. A few remained loyal to the Nazi regime, forming secret groups and trying to enforce discipline among their fellow prisoners. There were occasional escapes, but most were quickly recaptured. The vastness of America made escape almost impossible. The end of the war brought new challenges. As Germany collapsed, news of the devastation at home reached the camps. Many POWs worried about their families, their homes, and their future. Some feared retribution from the Allies, or from their own countrymen. The uncertainty was palpable. But even as they waited for repatriation, the lessons of their time in America lingered. Many POWs came to admire the American system, its democracy, its prosperity, its openness. Some resolved to bring these lessons home, to help rebuild a new Germany. One former POW later wrote, "I arrived in America as an enemy. I left as a friend. I saw what was possible when people worked together, when they valued freedom and opportunity. It changed me forever." The story of German POWs in America is not just a story of captivity. It is a story of transformation of men who came as conquerors and left as witnesses to a different way of life. It is a story of contrasts, between the ruins of Europe and the abundance of America, between dictatorship and democracy, between war and peace. The impact of America's industrial might was not lost on the POWs. They saw the endless trains of tanks, trucks, and planes rolling out of factories. They watched as ships were built in weeks, not months. They marveled at the highways, the power plants, the cities that never seemed to sleep. For many, it was a humbling experience. In Germany, we fought with what we had. In America, they fought with everything. The factories never stopped. The people never gave up. It was a machine that could not be broken. The scale of American production during the war was unprecedented. By 1944, American factories were producing more planes, tanks, and ships than all the Axis powers combined. The United States built over 300,000 aircraft, 88,000 tanks, and 2.5 million trucks. The sheer volume of material was staggering. For the POWs, this industrial power was not just a statistic, it was a daily reality. They saw it in the camps, and the towns, and the fields. They saw it in the faces of the workers, the soldiers, the children. It was a force that shaped their understanding of the world. Some POWs were allowed to visit American cities under guard. They saw movie theaters, department stores, and bustling streets. They saw people shopping, eating in restaurants, and going to church. The normalcy of life was striking. I walked through a city in Texas. There were no bombed buildings, no soldiers on every corner. People smiled at me, even though I wore a prisoner's uniform. It was a different world. The experience of captivity in America left a lasting mark on many German POWs. Some returned home with new ideas, new hopes, and a new appreciation for democracy. A few even returned to America after the war, seeking a new life in the land that had once been their enemy. The story of German POWs in America is a reminder of the power of human connection, even in the midst of war. It is a story of discovery, of transformation, and of hope. It is a story that continues to resonate decades after the guns fell silent. As the years passed, many former POWs kept in touch with their American friends. Some attended reunions, visited the camps where they had been held, or wrote memoirs about their experiences. Their stories offer a unique perspective on the war, a perspective shaped not by hatred or revenge, but by understanding and respect. One former POW summed it up best: "I came to America as a soldier. I left as a man." The legacy of America's industrial might is not just in the machines it built, but in the lives it changed. For the German POWs who saw it firsthand, it was a lesson they would never forget. If you found this story as eye-opening as those German POWs did, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for more hidden chapters of history. What surprised you most about America's home front during WWII? Share your thoughts in the comments below and join the conversation.